Five, four, three, two, one.
What up, y'all? What up? What up? What up? What up? How you doing? How you doing? All right, y'all. We're a little behind on this, but we're gonna get it done. We're gonna get it done. I want to tell everybody that's over there on the Twitch side, go ahead and make your way over to the YouTube side real quick if you want to participate in the chat. We're gonna be chatting on the YouTube side. Link at the top and everything like that. People on the YouTube side, welcome in. Appreciate y'all being here. We're gonna work it out. Welcome into F.A.D. Flight Attendant Debriefing with your boy Vegaz 23. We're gonna get into some stories that's happened over the last couple weeks. And it's been crazy. It's been a crazy couple weeks. End of the year, beginning of the year for the airline industries and everything like that. And then I'm gonna also talk a bit about why I'm at home today and not on the road. But yeah, so let's get into it, y'all. So welcome in once again. We're gonna try to do this flight attendant debriefing stuff at least once a week. Try to do it on Fridays. Sometimes it doesn't work out to be that way, and things happen, and so much, and everything. Welcome in, Turtle Power. Welcome in. So one of the first stories I'm kind of going in chronological order with what's had happened with some of these airlines in the last couple weeks. We're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into why we at home and everything like that. But first things first, we want to talk about this story with Spirit Airlines where they put a child on the wrong aircraft and they ended up being in the wrong city. At least this was the correct state, but saying there's still some things about it. So we're going to talk about it. We're going to watch a video about it, and so you can get a little history of what's going on with that. So let's take a look at that. Whoosh, and just like that, we're over here. Beautiful lady on GMA and everything like that. So here we go. let me know if you can hear the video as well as we go through it.
The young boy flying alone to see his grandmother, who was put on the wrong flight, landing in the wrong city. Fortunately, he's fine, but now his family wants answers. Faith Abube is back with the details. Good morning, Faith.
Good morning, Faith.
Good morning to you,
This
Eva.
is
You
all
can just
pre-recorded,
imagine
okay?
how
All the
terrified that
videos were
family
shown.
was when that plane landed without a 6-year-old on board. Turns out he was more than 150 miles away from his intended destination.
I keep thinking about, how about if somebody would have stolen my grandson?
It was 6-year-old Casper's first time flying on his own, traveling from Philadelphia to Fort Myers on Spirit Airlines. His grandmother, Maria Ramos, eagerly waiting to pick him up, his luggage landing in Fort Myers. But there was no sign of Casper.
They told me, no, he's not in this flight.
Ghost
He missed
in Fort
his flight.
Myers.
I said, no, he could not miss his flight because I have the check-in tag.
Alarm quickly growing to panic.
So I ran inside the plane to the flight attendant and I asked her, where's my grandson? He was handed over to you at Philadelphia.
Now let's talk about that right there, okay? Actually, you know what? We're just gonna finish the story, then we'll come back in here.
She said, no, I had no kids with me.
A short time later, Ramos receives a call from Casper. It turns out the 6-year-old had been put on a different flight, landing 150 miles away in Orlando.
He said, yes, I'm here. I land. I'm in the airport. I said, give me an adult. He said, I don't have nobody with me.
Spirit Airlines saying in a statement in part, quote, the child was always under the care and supervision of a Spirit team member. And as soon as we discovered the error, we took immediate steps to communicate with the family and reconnect them. But for Ramos, it isn't enough.
I want them to call me and let me know how my grandson ended up in Orlando. How did that happen?
And that grandmother says Spirit Airlines did reimburse her for traveling to Orlando to pick up that 6-year-old boy, but that family still has a lot of questions, including how the boy ended up on the wrong plane in the first place. Spirit Airlines says it's conducting an internal investigation. Eva.
Could you
6 years
imagine?
old.
Yes.
6 years old. What does a 6-year-old do in an airport by himself?
I know. As a parent, the heart skips a beat a little bit. You get that news. They do have a lot of questions. We all got questions too. We'll see how that plays out. Thank you for that, Faith.
All right, so I want to talk about this. And Turtle, you're right. Flying as a minor alone, it is crazy how they do it, how everything. But there's so many regulations or different steps that they gotta go through, right? First one on, last one off. Now, being as a flight attendant myself, sometimes that child is not the first one on. Sometimes they're the last one on. It all depends on how the parents, and I say this again, the parents bring their child up to the gate agent to let them know that your unaccompanied minor's here and ready to go on the plane. Sometimes those parents don't let them on first. They be like, no, we want to spend some more time with our child. Fine, okay, you're going to be the last one on now, so you just got to wait a second, because the gate agent has to deal with the other passengers and board them at the same time and everything like that. So, but I want to talk about this part where she says this.
Alarm quickly growing to panic.
So I ran inside the plane to the flight attendant and I asked her, where's my grandson? He was handed over to you at Philadelphia.
Now, here's the thing. There is no way if this happened, if she actually ran down the jet bridge to the plane, that's a security breach right there. So that gate agent in Fort Myers should be in trouble. Just saying. Because if you don't have a boarding pass to be on the plane, you can't go down the jet bridge. She had a gate pass, and when you do a UM, as the receiving parent or the parent or the person who's given the child to the flight, you get a gate pass. So that means you're able to go through security, but you're not able to board the plane. You're not able to go down the jet bridge. So her running down, security breach automatically. Boom. Here is the process of a UM, and most of the airlines, they might differentiate a little bit, but not much. They're pretty much the same cookie cutter type stuff, right? It is simple and plain like this. I kind of don't want to do we'll just leave it right here. We'll leave it right here. Okay, we'll leave it right here. So first things first, when you book a child as a UM, there always is a fee. There's about $100, $150, between $100 and $150 fee for no matter what airline you're on, for you to have that child fly by themselves. It gives them the ability to be watched by an agent from the airline, and also probably give them food and snack and beverage and stuff on the plane. All right. So when you do that, when you book that, so you're saying my child's flying by themselves. It's usually between the ages of 6 to 15. Okay, 15 is about the age most people don't stop doing that, because 15 is the legal age for somebody to sit in an emergency exit row. So they're considered almost an adult and a responsible person to fly in the exit row. My mind, no, you should be 18 and above, just like everything else. But hey, and when I was younger, working in the airline industry back in the 90s, you can buy a UM, that's what we call a UM, unaccompanied minor, status to a child up to age 18. So when you do that, when you buy that process, you go to the ticket counter outside of security. You get at the ticket counter, like, here's my child as a UM, here's their bag, such and such, and some right? And there's another thing that they say about this, which is totally incorrect. So at that point, they've like, okay, here's the child's boarding pass, here's the paperwork. We need you to fill this out. And the paperwork's pretty simple. It tells you the name of the child, the age of the child, where the child's sitting on the plane, who's dropping them off, the information on their photo ID, which is, the address, and a contact phone number for that parent or that person that is dropping them off at the airport. Okay. Then right under there is the same information for the person who's picking them up. So this the name of the person picking them up, the driver's license information, and the contact phone number for that person that's picking them up. Now that information on that pickup person must match what's on that person's ID wherever that person's going. Okay. And then some other stuff that's on there, and then signatures. Okay, signatures show who's dropping off the person. So it'll be like the parents that's dropping off the child signature, and then the gate agent who is receiving that child, who will be making sure the child goes from the gate to the plane, right? It's that signature, that gate agent, okay? And then from there, the flight attendant signs it, saying, I have received this child. It's kind of like a package, almost like a package, saying, I have, signature there, saying, I have received this UM on my flight, and I'm responsible for this UM at this time. Boom. Sit the plane, right? So all that's filled out before you even go through security, right? And once you go through security and everything, the parent must stay with the child. Must stay with the child. All right? Until that plane, until they give that child to the gate agent to take down to the plane, to the flight attendant. That parent is not to leave the airport, not to leave the gate until that plane has taken off. All right? This is airline wide. Parents must stay at the airport, at the gate, until the plane has taken off. Because the plane could back away and then come back. There's plenty of times it hasn't. It's like, oh, there's something wrong with the plane. Got to bring it back to the gate for maintenance to come check it out. You got to take it out. Somebody acting a fool on the plane. Plane got to go back to the gate. Something, it could be anything. Anything. Plane could go out there and weather could be bad. Flights canceled. Plane comes back. The parent must stay at the gate until the plane takes off. There's no, and I don't understand this. Like, if this is your child, this is the most important person in your world that you're giving custody to an airline industry, and you want the men to make sure you should be there at the airport waiting, be like, hey, I need to make sure my child's taking off. That's plane. Need to make sure they take off. You don't drop them off.
She said no.
Drop them off at the gate agent and then leave because you got to go to work. No, you should have thought of that beforehand. Tell your job you'll be at work a little late. That's your thing. Your child's the most important thing. Your job is the second most important thing. And so that's part of the running. Now, you can see there's 3 people that in contact with this child before they get on the plane or while they're getting on the plane. It's the parent, the gate agent, and the flight attendant, okay? Now, these 3 people must ensure that this child is on the correct aircraft, right? So if the parent is there at the gate dropping them off, which we never hear anything from the parent. We only hear from the grandmother on the situation who's receiving the child, not the mother who's giving the child to the airline. Where did that parent go? Did that parent stay at the gate and make sure that the child was getting on the correct plane? Maybe not, because we don't hear nothing from them. And that's the part of it. Like the gate agent can't stop the parent. Like we could just tell them, hey, you got to stay here. And if the parent leaves, now some airlines, if the parent leaves before the plane leaves, that child doesn't get on the plane. And then you call the parent like, hey, your child missed the flight because you left, and we needed to make sure that you stayed here just in case. So here's your child. Come back and get your child. The gate agent then checked the boarding pass to make sure the child was on the right plane. Didn't check. That's a problem right there. Third person is the flight attendant. Now, the flight attendant, they're supposed to do a certain amount of things when they receive that child. 1, verify that child's name. Like, look at the child, talk to the child. Hey, what's your name? Such and such. Okay, this is on the paperwork. Where you're going? Okay. Cool. Okay, such and such. Now, I'll give you to this. Sometimes when I'm doing this and I talk to the child and they're like, I don't know. This is red flag number 1. What do you mean you don't know where you're going? Ask them who is picking them up. Those are 3 things that you need to say. Where you going? What's their name? Who's picking you up? Now, if 2 out of those 3 usually work and then playing, because if they don't know where they're going, because they're a small child, like this one, he's 6 years old, right? The only thing he probably knows is like, I'm going to go see grandma. Don't know where grandma lives, but I'm going to go see grandma. Okay, what's grandma's name? Okay, they should know their name. So if you're giving your child away on a UM, you should tell them. You should make sure that the child knows their name, what city they're going to. Okay, what city are they flying into? Not what city that their grandma lives in, because grandma might live in St. Pete, but the plane's going to Fort Myers. 2 different cities. But as an airline and flight attendant or gate agent, we know, like, okay, that's right there next to each other. And what is the person's name that's picking you up? Not the relations to them, what their name is. So if it's grandma, you should know grandma's name. So those things. So parent needs to be blamed for not making sure the child's not on the correct flight, because the flight went to Orlando instead of Fort Myers. The gate agent needed to be in problem with why that child got on the wrong aircraft, and the flight attendant needs to be reprimanded as well for not verifying that this child is on the correct plane, because ultimately once that plane door closes, that child, that UM, is the responsibility of that lead flight attendant and every flight attendant on that plane. Okay, another thing that this lady said is that
Spirit Airlines saying in a statement in part, quote, the child was not supervised once he got to Orlando. Now, I've been to Orlando plenty of times, and I understand that the kid at the gate, what happens, you have the gate podium, and then you have a space behind the gate podium where there's some seats behind it. And a lot of times the gate agents put the child behind there to make sure that they don't go nowhere, okay? And then, so that's the thing. So if the child's back behind that wall, which is a see-through wall, the gate agent could see the child on the other side sitting down.
if that child's sitting on that side and says, "Oh, there's no adults with me," but they're on the other side of that little partition, that's one thing. And that's usually probably what happened here in Orlando. Like I said, different stations are different things. Most stations don't have that seating behind the gate. So this is Orlando's a little different in this situation about it. So I guarantee this child Casper probably was never alone at all. Especially when they found out, like, oh, you're not even supposed to be here, because they look at, they probably, when they got to Orlando, they looked at it, it was like, wait, you're not even supposed to be in Orlando, you're supposed to be in Fort Myers, and that's a whole different thing. So, and that's, like I said, that is a problem with the mother, the gate agent in Philadelphia, and the flight attendant who accepted that that's their problem. That was the problem right there. I'm glad that Casper was able to be safe. Casper was able to get his grandma was able to go pick him up. Luckily, it wasn't so far away to where she couldn't drive there, which is crazy that she had to drive there. But from what I understand, that Spirit even offered to have somebody drive Casper to Fort Myers from Orlando, so the grandmother wouldn't have to. But at that point, the grandmother's probably like frantic, like, I don't trust y'all. Y'all put my baby on the wrong plane. No telling where y'all might drive him to. Understandable. So, but at least they were able to. The grandmother was able to go in there. Now, according to the storyline, with this, let me see if I can pull this up. Web. According to the storyline, what has happened with is I'm gonna shrink this down a little bit so we can see it. And I should have had this already planned out, but I forgot about this part. And I thought I already had set up, but it's not set up, but it's okay. It's okay. Alright. According to the news story right now, of what's happened, and none of this happened a couple of weeks ago. And this part comes out on December 30th. Spirit agent who put unaccompanied minor on the wrong flight is no longer working for the airline. Like I said, that person needed to be reprimanded because they put them on the wrong flight. We'll read through this real quick. A Spirit Airlines agent who put a 6-year-old on the wrong flight during the holiday travel rush is no longer working for the company, the airline said. An internal investigation determined that the gate agent in Philadelphia incorrectly put the child on the plane to Orlando when he was meant to fly to Southwest Florida International Airport in Fort Myers. Actually, it's supposed to be regional Southwest. That's the reason why the airport code for Fort Myers is RSW. R for regional, S for south, W for west, regional Southwest Florida International Airport. On December 21st, Spirit said in the statement Friday, this agent is no longer working for Spirit, and any individual whose actions resulted in incorrect boarding will also be held accountable for failing to follow our procedures. Spirit said in the statement, the airline said on Friday that its policies and procedures are in place to prevent this type of situation from happening, and reiterating those procedures to its team. Spirit previously apologized for the mishap, and the airline said the statement Saturday that it should take immediate steps to communicate with the family to reconnect them after learning the mistake. Unaccompanied minor was a first-time flyer en route to see his grandmother. Now, I don't know how the Casper was able to get back to Philadelphia, whether grandmother flew up there with him or they decided to go with a different airline. Either way, the process of doing the would have been the same. You know what I'm saying? You go to the ticket counter, say this is the fill out the paperwork, get a gate pass for the parent going through. Parent goes through, doesn't leave the plane, doesn't leave the gate area until the plane takes off. Make sure the child goes to the right gate. Make sure the child is given to the gate agent who takes the child down to the plane. Because remember, I said only the people who have tickets can go down to the plane. So the grandmother, the parent, whatever, they can't go past the boarding door. The gate agent takes it to the flight attendant. The flight attendant signs off on it saying, I have the child. A piece of the paperwork stays with the gate agent there. A piece of paperwork goes to the grandmother or whoever the parent is. And then the rest of the paperwork stays with the flight attendant, who will take it to wherever the destination, Philadelphia on this one. And then the paperwork is re-signed by an agent up there in Philadelphia saying, I have this child now. I'm taking it from the flight attendant, and then the ID's verified that the parent who was picking up the child is there. Boom, boom. So definitely the gate agent, as we see, is no longer working for the airline. The flight attendant is going to be probably a different story, because Spirit Airlines is a union. Their flight attendants are unionized, so it's going to be a harder procedure for them to be able to terminate that flight attendant. The only airline right now that does not have a major airline in the United States that doesn't have a union for their flight attendants is Delta Airlines, and right now those airline flight attendants are fighting to get a union. But like I said, at least the grandmother was able to drive over there to pick up her grandson. All right.
Well, the holidays.
Not the same story for this one. For this situation here. Now look at this. This is a Frontier person that decided to fly.
Well, the holiday travel rush is finally over, and even though it wasn't the nightmare many experienced flying last year, one local family had a real scare after their son ended up on the wrong flight.
Yeah, quite the story here, Wendy. Instead of going from Tampa to Cleveland as he was supposed to, that teen wound up in Puerto Rico. So the question tonight, how did that happen? Mary O'Connell speaking with the boy's father.
It's the panic no parent hopes to experience when sending their child off on vacation.
He has flown with us many times before, but it's his first time flying alone.
The Friday before Christmas, Ryan Lose's 16-year-old son, Logan, was set to fly from Tampa International to Cleveland on a Frontier Airlines flight to visit his mom for the holidays. Lose says Logan noticed passengers at his gate boarding, so he joined them.
So he goes up to the gate attendant. They check his personal item in the little slot, and then they look at his phone, which has the boarding pass. They don't ever scan it and set it down and scan it, which would have just alerted them saying, hey, this is not the right flight.
But Logan was instead about to head in the opposite direction.
Exactly like Home Alone 2, where Kevin puts on the music and the flight attendants start talking about where they're going, and he can't hear anything. That's exactly what happened with Logan.
Turns out it was the wrong flight, and Logan landed in Puerto Rico.
If he would have landed in another state, I could have gotten a car and drove, had him on the phone and said, hey, Logan, just don't do anything, just stay there. I'll be there in X amount of hours. I can't do that when he's in Puerto Rico.
Frontier allows children 15 and older to fly alone, but doesn't offer an unaccompanied minor program involving airline-provided escorts for minors. Frontier tells me both the San Juan and Cleveland flights left from the same gate, with the San Juan flight departing first. In a statement about the situation, the airline said, quote, he was immediately flown back to Tampa on the same aircraft and accommodated on a flight to Cleveland the following day. Frontier has extended its sincere apologies to the family for the error. The airline hasn't responded to us yet as to how this could have happened.
At this point, maybe I'm debating, do I take a plane up to Cleveland, meet him there so I can fly back down with them?
A travel headache, with the family hoping for smoother skies in the new year. In Manatee County, Mary O'Connell, ABC Action News.
All right, so let's talk about this. So, and this is what I don't agree with. That part of the story is that Frontier doesn't offer an unaccompanied minor thing. Yes, they do. All airlines do. Otherwise, they would not allow them to fly. Okay. This is a mistake on the child himself. You know what I'm saying? He's 16. He's not paying attention to where he's flying, okay? Or what's happening at the gate. Like you said, he just saw that people were boarding a plane, so he decided to get up and get on the plane. And he decided to put his headphones on and not listen to the flight attendants. A lot of people do this. There's a lot of information that flight attendants do say. Yes, some of it is repetitive, same thing, but that's something you should listen to. Like, okay, we're going to such and such. All right, I'm on the right craft, okay? Because this situation could have been stopped right there in Tampa at multiple parts. Another person who's to blame is that gate agent who did not scan that boarding pass. Because yes, even if it's on the phone, just scan it. The sound went like, oh, what's going on? Why is it not taking this ticket? What's going on? Okay, oh, this person's not. No, this is not your flight. Your flight's the next one. Okay, just have a seat, and we'll once we get this plane out, we'll let you know when it's time to board that flight. Right. But yeah, so those are the two parts right there. Like, if the kid paid attention to that, the flight that he was getting on to was not the one going to Cleveland, but Puerto Rico, totally different. I mean, think about it. It's two different names. San Juan, Cleveland. Pay attention just a little bit. A little time off of the headphones. A little time listening to what's going on in the airport, because airports can be very confusing, very sporadic and chaotic especially during the holiday season. So take time, put your headphones off, wait until you're actually moving, the doors closed before you put your headphones on, or leave one off so you can just pay attention a little bit more, just a little bit more, and a lot of things will be alleviated. And like I said, the last story was a little bit easier because grandmother was able to drive. Mind you, it was a 4-hour drive. But, this father, he couldn't go get his son because his son was across the ocean inside Puerto Rico on an island. You know what I'm saying? But luckily, they were able to, they saw the situation, the problem right away, because they were able to put him right back on that plane and send him back to Tampa on that same flight, on that same plane, because it was about to leave going back to Tampa. And a lot of times when you do Puerto Rico's or stuff like that, the plane does go there and back, same plane, or it's what we call turns. So that was a good thing for them. All right. So all in all, in situations like this, when you're traveling, when you're having a kid or a minor traveling, make sure they're going on the right plane. Make sure if they're unaccompanied minor and they have paperwork, make sure you're staying at the airport until that plane takes off. Make sure the plane's going make sure you're at the right gate, make sure it's going to the right place and stuff like that. Just pay attention just a little bit more and you will see things go. I've never, as a flight attendant, I need some water. All right, that'll help me out for a little bit. Me as a flight attendant has never misplaced a UM or anything like that. Like I said, when I get a I usually, this is the first thing I do is like, hey, my name is such and such. I'm gonna be taking care of what you say while you're on the plane. What's your name? I'm reading it. What's your name? Okay, that matches. All right, so where are we going? Okay, that matches. Who's picking you up? All right, great. Then I sign the paperwork. Because if none of that information matches, I'm not signing paperwork. Then I sign the paperwork. I'm like, all right, number one rule for me is you do not get off this aircraft without me. Okay? Is that okay? Is that all right? Cool. Number one rule. Main rule. Most important rule. Do not get off the aircraft without me. Got it? Got it. All right, cool. This is such and such. They're going to take you to your seat and explain you some other stuff and important stuff once you get to your seat, okay? All right, thank you. Go ahead, bye now. And then just, boom. I write my paperwork. I take my pieces of paperwork and let them go. Cool. Done. Safe. I know who I have. I know they know where they're going. I know I have the right person on my aircraft. Now, I've worked like when I started working in the airline industry, yes, you heard my customer service voice. But when I started in the airline industry, when I was in high school, college, beginning of college years, I worked exclusively with UMs, unaccompanied minors, and so I know the process. I've been through the process. I've been the in and outs of the process. I helped make sure this process was safe back in the 90s. So that thing, yes, that gate agent should have been fired. Don't know what's going to happen to that flight attendant. They might be fired. For the Spirit side, the Frontier side, that gate agent, don't know. They might get reprimanded. I don't know, because it's a different situation, because it's a child that's traveling by themselves but not escorted by the airlines. So they're traveling by themselves but not escorted. Now, let's get into some stuff that has been bad about the airline, even worse than potentially putting children on wrong aircrafts, is some of this Alaska stuff, plane defects, and some of the worst, crashes in lately in the last year or so.
Now to new details on the mid-air blowout on the Alaska Airlines flight. Boeing's CEO is acknowledging the company's mistake as we hear new details from passengers on that jet. Our transportation correspondent Gio Benitez joins us with the latest. Good morning, Gio.
Robin, good morning to you. We are here at Boeing's headquarters in Chicago. The company's CEO got emotional and, as you said, took responsibility. This morning, a stark admission from Boeing's CEO after that door plug flew off its Alaska airline jet at 16,000 feet.
We're going to approach this, number one, acknowledging our mistake. We are going to approach it with 100% and complete transparency every step of the way.
CEO Dave Calhoun emotional as he addressed employees Tuesday.
This stuff matters. Everything matters. Every detail matters.
Boeing says it's now working with the NTSB and FAA to make sure this never happens again. The company revising its final inspection protocols to the FAA for those 171 grounded MAX 9 jets that have door plugs. The FAA saying they will remain grounded for now and that the safety of the flying public, not speed, will determine the timeline for returning the Boeing 737-9 MAX to service. This as we learn stunning new details about what happened on that Alaska Airlines jet Friday.
I reached over and held his hands, and we literally thought that we were going to die.
Say Soroon and her 12-year-old son Josiah were sitting in the row right behind the door plug when it flew off, taking Josiah's phone and stuffed animal with it.
You would just hear a big boom. It was silent for like 1 second, and then you would just feel and hear a lot of air going around, freezing cold air.
And the mother of the 15-year-old who lost his shirt telling the Seattle Times as the air cabin depressurized, she saw her son's seat being pulled back toward the hole, saying, quote, "I reached over and grabbed his body and pulled him towards me over the armrest. I did not realize until after the flight that his clothing had been torn off of his upper body." She said it sounded like a bomb exploding. Also on the plane, 3 babies that were sitting on laps and 4 unaccompanied minors, the youngest of which was 5. Meanwhile, in a federal class action lawsuit, a former employee of the company that builds the MAX 9 fuselage, Spirit Aerosystems, said this, that the company's products suffered from an excessive amount of defects. We, of course, reached out to the company, but they do not comment on pending litigation. Michael?
Yeah, the whole thing just a scary ordeal, Gio. Thank you so much for that.
That's crazy. So look at that scene right there, man. You can just look out. You don't even get a window. You don't even get a window. I don't say who I work for. I don't ever say who I work for. That's crazy that you can look out the window like that, or even the side of the plane. But I first off, I want to applaud these flight attendants for working this plane and making sure everybody was safe and felt good. They all have masks on. Homeboy has his mask on correctly. We've seen plenty of times in videos people not putting their mask on correctly. She's walking around with a portable oxygen bottle and a mask on herself so she can walk and make sure everything. Obviously, the flight was okay for her to be walking around to making sure everything's okay. But that's what flight attendants have to do. Like after something in the situation, they have to make sure everything's okay. Make sure your seatbelt's on. Make sure and everything like that. It's crazy. Because I think they said it's 16,000 feet. At 10,000 feet, flight attendants are able to get up and move about the cabin. It's probably, sometimes it's safe for passengers, but that's only up to the pilot's decision. That's when they turn off the seatbelt sign. But at 10,000 feet, flight attendants are able and are supposed to get up and start doing their flight attendant duties for service or preparing things for the cabin and stuff like that. Trading cards from the pilots. Whew. I forgot about those trading cards. I really did. A lot of stuff we don't get. A lot as far as pilots, and I mean pilots probably have them and they never worry about it, but as far as flight attendants, we don't worry about stuff like that. A lot of times we just, oh, do you have any wings? Yeah, here's some wings. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of trouble with this Boeing. Boeing's been having problems for the last couple years. Remember the 737s that they had that crashed, several crashes across the world, and then they were grounded here in the United States. So it's been a crazy situation with this, and then this whole thing comes out. This don't even look like a window. It looks like a door. That should have been there, and I believe it is a door, but I'm not sure. But that's not the end of it, because the FAA, Federal Aviation Administration, decided to ground a bunch of these 900s, them MAX 9s. And here's another reason
Now to
why.
new developments in the investigation into the Alaska Airlines plane after part of it fell off mid-flight. And now both Alaska and United Airlines report finding loose parts on some of their Boeing 737 MAX 9 planes. The chair of the NTSB joins us live in just a moment, but first.
See, that is a door. That is a door. These are overwing window exits, and this is a door. So this is crazy. This door fell out.
First, our transportation correspondent, Gio Benitez, is in Portland, Oregon. Good morning, Gio.
Hey, Robin, good morning. Yeah, the NTSB now knows that the top fitting of the door plug was actually fractured, so the door moved up and then out. So the big question right now is, were the bolts to hold it there ever installed, or did they break? And of course, there's that new concern. What about the other planes with loose bolts?
This morning, the growing fallout from that Alaska Airlines flight losing its door plug midair. The company saying it found some loose hardware during its initial inspection of its 737 MAX 9 fleet, while United Airlines, which has 79 MAX 9s, said it found loose bolts on some of its door plugs, which are used to cover and seal optional emergency exits. The airline won't say how many planes are affected, but that they appear to relate to installation issues in the door plug and need additional tightening.
The fact that loose bolts have been found in other similar aircraft indicates that possibly this is an endemic problem that was created in manufacturing.
This after that missing door plug from Alaska's MAX 9 was finally found. The NTSB searching for 4 bolts that should have stopped the door plug from flying off the plane at 16,000 feet.
What everybody was looking for in Portland was actually in my backyard, and I was the first one to actually see it.
You know how hard it's going to be
landing in the backyard of Portland teacher Bob Sauer.
A friend of mine called me and said, you should probably check your backyard. Once I'd finished my work for the day, I came out to look for it, and that's when I found it. Well, my heart started beating a little faster, so yeah, I guess I was excited. I went back in the house, and I first called the NTSB. We were very careful not to touch anything during that time, because I figured the NTSB would want to see it in the condition it had fallen in.
The images of the door plug and the plane triggering new questions.
There is more than likely a problem here with the latching mechanism or with the way it was installed.
Attention now turning to the company that manufactured the fuselage of Boeing's 737 MAX 9, Spirit Aerosystems. Issues with its fuselages led to delays of Boeing MAX planes last year. The company saying in a statement, Spirit is a committed partner with Boeing on the 737 program, and we continue to work together with them on this matter. Kelly Bartlett describing the chaos when that door plug flew off the Alaska plane.
Somebody had jumped over me to sit down in that empty seat, and I just thought, where did you come from? Like, why are you? I didn't know what was going on.
The plug leaving a gaping hole in the 26th row. The two seats closest to it just happened to be empty. But the third seat on the aisle occupied by a teen whose shirt flew off. Bartlett says he ran up to her row after the incident.
The kid who was sitting in that row, like, his seatbelt had saved his life, because that's why he didn't have a shirt on, was the suction had just torn it off.
Hundreds of flights now canceled this week as those MAX 9s are inspected. There are more than 170 around the world.
More than 170 of these MAX 9 aircraft, and 79 of them belong to United. That's wild. That's wild. But they got a lot of problems with that right now. And it's crazy that, you know, the Boeing is having a lot of problems with their 737s and everything like that. But I'm glad everybody survived that and lived to tell the story and lived to go ahead and continue to fly. I know some of them are probably traumatized and probably it'll be a while before they start flying again. Some people might not. We don't know. But hopefully, good job on the flight attendants, the pilots, and everybody else involved into this. And we'll see what happens with these aircraft later on as time goes by and NTSB finish their investigation. But from then, we want to go on to one of the crashes.
Details are emerging about Tuesday's deadly collision between a passenger jet and a Coast Guard plane at Haneda Airport in Tokyo. Transcripts of communications between the pilots and air traffic control reveal what may have happened in the moments before the crash, which claimed the lives of 5 Coast Guard crew. Japan Airlines Flight 516 struck the Coast Guard plane immediately after landing, then skidded along the runway for about a kilometer before coming to a halt. Both aircraft burst into flames. According to transcripts released by Japan's Transport Ministry, air traffic control was apparently unaware the Coast Guard plane had entered the runway. But analysis of footage captured by NHK suggests the aircraft was on the runway for about 40 seconds before the crash took place. Sources say police have questioned the Coast Guard pilot, who said he recalled the moment flames engulfed the rear of his plane.
That's crazy.
The Japan Airlines pilots have told officials they had no visual contact with the other aircraft as they approached the runway. JAL has revealed details about the tense 18 minutes between when the plane touched down and all its passengers and crew had been safely evacuated. The airline says its pilots were initially unaware that a fire had broken out. The chief flight attendant had to inform the cockpit that the plane was burning. As the cabin filled with smoke, flight attendants urged passengers to remain calm.
The inside of the plane became pitch dark. The fire was getting bigger and bigger, and it got hot. To be honest, I thought this was the end for me.
The evacuation began from 2 exits at the front of the aircraft. The airline says only one of the rear exits was safe to use. By then, the intercom system was no longer functioning, so flight attendants took the initiative to open that door as well. Passengers were directed to slide down inflatable chutes onto the tarmac. Zhao says the captain was the last person to evacuate at 6:05 p.m., 18 minutes after landing.
This is the first photo I took after getting out. It looks bright. The plane was still intact, but when I got on a bus, the fuselage had collapsed.
More than 210 flights are expected to be cancelled on Thursday, affecting more than 36,000 travelers. Zhao says it expects a loss of about $100 million, but the damage to the plane will be covered by aviation insurance. The company says it will be looking at how the crash affects its financial performance for the fiscal year.
So, once again, applaud to those people on I hit the wrong button. Apply to those flight attendants that and pilots who were able to save all those people who were on the aircraft. Hearts go out, prayers go out to those Coast Guard, 5 Coast Guard members who perished in that crash. But this shows that flight attendants' main job is not service. Their main job is safety. And you saw it in the video where they was like, hey, how come you're not opening the door? We should be getting out. The plane's burning. There are certain procedures that we need to make sure everybody's safe to be able to get out. They were probably saying that when the plane was still going down the air by the jet bridge, the tarmac. And we can't let you out until the plane comes to a stop, because if we let you out then you're just going to be tumbling down the tarmac. So as soon as the plane comes to a relevant stop or a complete stop, then we'll start evacuating everybody off the plane. Now, mind you, no matter how many people are on the aircraft, we have 90 seconds to get you off that aircraft. It could be 380 people like this aircraft was. The flight attendants have to get everybody off in 90 seconds. 90 seconds. That's 1 minute and 30 seconds, okay? So as soon as that we come to the stop, time starts, everybody starts getting off. 90 seconds from that point, everybody should be off. The last person should be off will be the captain, as always. And it's good because you can see the people on the aircraft getting off the plane without any bags. Can you imagine? What? The materialistic stuff we do not need. Save yourself. Save your life. You can always buy some other stuff. You know what I'm saying? But getting off the aircraft is the most important thing. If it's not breathing, you don't need to take it. Leave it on the aircraft. So if it's not a person or animal, get off the aircraft. Leave it on the aircraft. Suitcase, all that electronic stuff, you can leave it on the plane. Apply to all these passengers who did not bring their luggage with them when they were getting off the aircraft and everything like that. We appreciate that. But here's another reason why that plane did not.
Now, the investigation into that deadly plane collision in Japan, we're learning that warning lights on the runway were not working at the time of the crash. Our foreign correspondent James Longman has the very latest. Good morning, James.
Yeah, good morning, Lindsay. It's now emerged that warning lights on the runway that tell pilots whether or not it's safe to land were not working at Haneda Airport the night that Japan Airlines plane crashed into the Coast Guard's aircraft. There was an alert issued back on December 27th telling pilots that those lights would be out for the significant future. It's not clear whether that caused the crash, but no doubt it'll be part of the investigation. Meantime, transcripts of the communication between air traffic control and the pilots has been released. It shows that the pilots were never told to abort the landing. It also seems to suggest that air traffic control had no idea that that Coast Guard's plane was making its way onto the runway. They did not have permission to move forward. The pilots have said they didn't see anything when they were coming in to land, and they're speaking to crash investigators today. Meantime, the fallout from that earthquake continues. A search for survivors goes on.
So there you go. Those lights on the tarmac, on the runway, are important, and if they're out, that runway shouldn't have been used. So that's some crazy stuff. But applaud to everybody that done their jobs correctly once again, and survived and make sure everybody got off the aircraft correctly and survived everything like that. It's amazing. That is amazing that everybody got off. But that just shows the great training that those crew members have, and all crew members that we go through in any airline industry. We're not there just for serving drinks and give snacks and meals and stuff like that. We're there to save your life in case of emergency, and everything else is fluff. So safety is the foremost important thing for a flight crew in all situations. That's why when we get on the aircraft, we do safety checks and make sure everything's okay, make sure everybody's all right, make sure everything's good and golden, so we can, as far as we can see, as part of our job, so we can do. And that's why people, and when the pilots do their checks and everything, do their walk around and all that stuff, and check the computers and stuff like that, when they said we have a little small maintenance issue, they're trying to make sure we get off okay. They're not there just to bug, so they're doing things because things aren't in the right order, and they need to make sure it's okay to fly. But thank you, everybody. Appreciate y'all coming through. Once again, this is Vegaz, Flight Attendant Debriefing with Vegaz 23. I'm here on YouTube, so definitely if you missed most of the video, go ahead and go back and watch the rest of the video. We appreciate you doing that. Like, subscribe, and share this video if you like. But sit back, relax. We're going to come back later on today or tonight, and we're going to play some more video games, but we're going to have a little bit more fun than some of this flight attendant stuff. So if you have any questions or anything like that, please feel free to put them in the comments, and I'll be more than happy to answer them. Or if there's something that you would like to know about being a flight attendant and we can make a video about it, we will do that. But in the meantime, thank you for showing some love. I love you guys. Peace, love, nappy cornrow grease. History repeats itself, but opportunities do not. So take advantage of all these opportunities that come your way and pave the path that you see forthwith. Until next time, we'll see you around.